What's up, you guys? This is Mike Hall with Remax coming at you. I'm a real estate agent in the Twin Cities and surrounding suburbs area. I specialize in selling residential real estate to anybody in this area. I also dabble in investments when it comes to commercial or multifamily or residential investments. So any of those things, if you guys are interested in, please hit me up. I've got contact information below. But today's episode is going to be awesome. We're going to be talking about how to get started in investment real estate. And we're going to start that from just getting out of college. We're going to cover what happens if you're buried in financial debt and you want to make a new change. How do you fix that issue? And then the last one we're going to get into is, what if you're already financially savvy? You got some money on the side, you've got good income coming in. How do you get going with investing in real estate? We're going to cover all three of those and everything else in between, you guys. So let's get started right now. This is a good one. You're going to like it. But before we get started, please like, subscribe, comment, you guys. This is a lot of fun, and the more we share this, the more fun we have. So welcome back to the show, Sam and Jay.
Thanks.
Today we're going to talk about, I had a big question today that I felt like I was completely capable of just handling immediately. And then I'm like, oh boy, I don't really know, because there's so much deeper. And that question was, how would you suggest I get started in the investing business? Hold on. I'll give you the exact quote of what it was.
Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah. NFTs. It's the only way.
Get your losses out of the way right away.
Yes.
Feel the devastating crushing of going bankrupt.
Jump on the trend that you see on social media.
I would say that most entrepreneurs are running from their financial disasters in the past most of the time. So it's not that bad of advice. Like, lose all of your money, be stupid.
We never lost
and
all
then
our
run
money.
from that.
Never lost all our money.
Yeah, me neither. Never once. 2 kids. Single job. W-2, stuck in an office all day. And a husband who's getting crushed by a sales incentive structure that is killing you.
I mean, he was still making good money.
How did it feel on a month-to-month basis?
Tight.
Terrible.
But that's not a mistake.
That
that's
wasn't a
just
mistake.
That's just reality.
It's running from being tight.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right.
And that's all that bankrupt is, or like running out of money. I've never run out of money, but I've been dang close, right?
Well, it's like there would have been a disaster. It sinks you. Like, we watched people that are close to us, that are they're debt free. They don't have any credit card debt. And then something happens to their car. And then something happens to their roof. And then they need this and that. And then suddenly they do something really dumb and they go finance a new vehicle.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's over.
And then boom, you're stuck in it. And you're stuck in, I like the term you used there, is tight. It was tight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? And so when I say that entrepreneurs are running from that, I think we're running from that tightness.
Yeah,
Because you can't imagine going back to that.
maybe. Yeah. What would you say?
Yeah, but I think it's deeper than that. I think I think a lot of it stems from before you are alone. It's like the way you're raised, what you're brought up with, your value system. I think there's a lot of things that you're running from that happen before you run out of money or before you're tight.
Yeah, because you said that your mom and dad always were trying to.
Yeah, so what I mean by that, and my personal example is my parents fought on the way to church every single Sunday over money. Every Sunday. We were in a screaming match the whole drive there and the whole way home. But believe me, we praised Jesus while we were at church.
Yeah.
And then we were screaming on the way home. And by we, I mean them. And I got to listen.
Yeah. That's really, really, really good.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So it doesn't have to be the tightness. But I mean, man, it's just
I don't want that stress.
Yeah.
I don't want that layer. Life is complicated enough. Why are we adding that layer?
Right.
Right.
And I guess it's something that as you grow up, you're like, oh, I really don't want that for my own family and for my own future.
Yep.
If I can avoid it.
So that's the chase. I mean, that is it in a nutshell, right? You want to have as much, I don't want to say ease, because life is hard and you learn to embrace the hard, but you want to pick your hard, and your hard should never be whether or not you're going to have food on the table.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of things in life we don't have control over, right? And honestly, things can happen with your money too, or your job or your finances or your investments. So really, control is not the right word. But
Fleeting.
there's levers that we can't pull, like if I get sick with cancer or I lose a family member or my marriage falls apart. Like, but one lever you can pull is you can be smart with your money. You can make you can make smart decisions.
And that's what investing is, right? It's like I'm making money. What do I do with it where it blesses my family?
Yeah.
And help us elevate us out of there. Yeah. Okay, so the exact quote of the question I got this morning, because when I say people ask me questions, I'm actually going to mean like legitimate questions. So it says, how do you recommend getting started on the investing game? And I was like, bam, that's kind of big, right? Because it's deeper than you'd think. First, I think, and this is my perspective, is that I think you need to pull yourself out of, if you are, you're not always are, some people aren't, but pull yourself out of underneath, under the water, right?
Sure.
Right.
Get out on the water, get a job, get your junk debts shored up. Credit card debts need to be zero. Car debt, that should probably be zero too. I think.
I mean, maybe.
It's debatable. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. If I had 50 grand, I mean, that's enough for a down payment on a townhouse, and you could essentially use that to help with your car payment.
So I
if it's
think
the right deal.
So, but I think you need to start, and this is where I say start at above zero. Okay.
Your net worth should not be.
The goal would be your active income, whether it's a day job, whether it's commissions, whether it's something, I think should pay for investments, and the investment should pay for your life.
Yes.
Okay. So if you can get as close to that as a starting point as possible, I think you're going to get there further and faster. So you can obviously debate about whether or not you should pay off your car payment, whether you should have car debt or whatever. I'm just saying if you have the ability to start at that zero,
you're going to be better off.
And wait until you have that cash flowing asset to go and buy that toy with it, I think you're going to be better off.
I think the advice depends greatly on what position is that person coming from to begin with. So for example, if I have somebody who's fresh out of college and that's the question that you're asking me, well, my advice to you in that exact moment is going to be go buy a house right now that you're going to live in first.
With renters.
It could be with roommates. It could be a variety of ways. But you need to have an asset first, and you have the ability to do that when you're fresh.
Yep.
And you have a job, right?
Yep.
You have income first, and then you go buy your first primary residence. And once you are ready to then move to something different, or you want to, maybe you want to go to a different place, you no longer like the city you're living in, you turn that into an investment.
Here's what's so powerful about this, okay? And I just realized that listening to you. I'm thinking back to my college brain, okay, and my college mind and what I was okay with living in, which was gross, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So it's easier to buy a house that is within a really reasonable budget when you're in college because you don't care
At all.
Okay. So the problem, if you wait too much into your life to get going there, is that you're going to have a spouse.
Yep.
You're going to have people in your life. You're going to need to entertain people that you want to think good of you, and your friends don't care as well. So like in college, like buy a house that's like kind of gross.
Yeah.
Because the price is there, you're gonna be able to afford it. It's still gonna be in a nice, appreciating college neighborhood, and you can rent college houses per the room.
Those rents were
like
crazy.
ridiculous because you're gonna trash your house.
Right.
But guess what? Your house is already trashed when you bought it.
Right.
Right.
Right. Because somebody else did the same thing.
And it's your house.
So
right?
Digressing though, I think the point is that
Get
it's
into the mic more.
Getting into investments and where to start depends on the life phase you're in.
Okay, so fresh out of college, as long as you haven't racked up a bunch of stupid debt with a history
Start
degree.
buying real estate and don't plan to sell it. So once you buy your first one, don't bank on that equity for the next one.
And there's
gone.
all kinds of awesome programs that you can jump into for going from one house to the next one where they don't have to count the debt against you. So I guess, step one is get in contact with a lender who can help you understand what options you have available to you.
Yeah.
That is super, super important because there are choices for you to own a home, keep that home, and then move to another one and have that house debt not count against you.
Here's what's so powerful about that contacting the loan officer that you don't even realize is that you're probably going to get a no. Okay. But along with that no, you're going to get a how.
Yeah. Here's what you would need.
This is how.
Yeah.
And you go, oh my gosh,
Right.
I can do that. Or now I know what I need to do that.
Correct.
Okay. And that's going to also help add some guardrails to your life in order to get there where it's going to, your debt to income ratio is going to start to make sense to you. Right. Oh, that car payment that cost me $800 that fits into my budget with my new salary and stuff like that doesn't fit into
owning a home.
owning a house, because that $800, I don't care if it's $300, it can still be the same thing, $200. So can skew your debt to income. And actually, I call these the chains that keep people poor,
Yeah.
right? And so when you get a car payment that stops you from being able to invest because it messes with your debt to income, like that's a chain.
Right.
Now you're stuck. So at least you'll have those guardrails and you'll be able to take that into account when you go and buy.
Right.
Yep.
And remember, your first house is never your forever home. I don't care how nice your first house is, it just isn't. So you have to look at it as just, I'm buying this as an investment for the future.
Yep. This is not 1955 when we're going to stay in the houses for the next 60 years and hope to give it to our children.
Yeah.
No, and then you need to immediately start saving for a new one, like have a side fund, because that I would say is the biggest trap young people get in where they don't build wealth and invest in real estate is they end up spending all their extra money and they need their equity for the next house.
Yep.
And so it goes and so it goes. And that was a mistake we made.
Yeah.
Like we had a great first house that would have been a phenomenal rental even today. And we sold it because like we needed
The cash.
for the next one.
Right.
So like if you can just not put yourself in that position, you'll be ahead of the game for investing.
Here's how you can set things up so that it visually makes sense to your life. If you can, when you get a job, you should have an account that your income comes into this business account, whether it's a W-2 job or not, that's your business account. Then you can have your personal account over here. But then the most important one when you have cash flowing real estate is that third account where that account takes care of your real estate. Okay, so you have 3 different buckets that are being taken care of. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to see your portfolio as an account that's taking care of itself.
Right.
And it's not your piggy bank.
Right.
And so you'll see it move and grow in a way that's disconnected from your personal.
So I guess in practical sense, to go back to the scenario that we're talking about, let's say your income is $5,500 a month or $6,000 or what have you, because that's kind of the position you're going to want to be in if you want to start investing in real estate. You're going to take $1,800 of your gross, and that's going to be your house budget. You're going to take another $300 or $400, and that's going to be your utility budget, and then you're going to take an additional $1,000 and or even $400 or $500 and start putting that into my next real estate, and then the rest of it is what you can operate on.
And it's so good to have an auto withdrawal from like a third party investment firm. Like put it in an annuity that has no penalties for pulling it out, like not a retirement fund where you get punished. But if you throw it into like a really safe annuity that's not at your bank, like you're not gonna reach into that. And like, you're not going to be like, I'm going to cash out my annuity because I want this item or this vacation. Like there's just something about it. Like we do with Thrivent. It's like we have all these other buckets. And to me, I'm like, that's our savings. That's our retirement. Like I'm never touching that. And so putting it in something that's not easily transferable through your banking portal, I would say is essential.
Well, that's what those buckets are for. And I've used money markets in the past for that.
Yeah.
And I've used money markets and you can even hide the account if you got good enough rates within your bank.
Right.
And so you set up those accounts where you're just sending money to, and what you're going to do is you're going to specifically use that money for big purchases, right? As it balloons, all of a sudden your entrepreneurial mind and your creative mind will start working on how when it starts to hit 40, 50, 60, that's starting to look like a house.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're going to start looking at houses in a different way.
Right.
And then it's going to deploy itself.
Yeah.
All while you're operating off of your living accounts.
Right.
Yeah. So it needs to be a line item budget.
Yep.
So I guess that's scenario number one.
And anybody, honestly, this isn't just first time home buyers. Like if you want to start investing in real estate, start this now.
Right.
Scenario
number 2.
Hold on, let's stop here. Okay, because I know that you set aside the $1,700 for your house. If you rent out 3 rooms, it's $1,200.
Right.
That's $1,700 is only $500.
Correct.
Yeah. If you're a single person, you should not be living in a home by yourself.
God, I mean, you're gonna be living with friends anyways. You might as well own it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're buying a house alone too, there's no reason not to rent a room or 2.
Okay, so number 1, fresh out of college, you're not in debilitating debt. Go out, get started with. You can even do this in college, by the way.
Yeah.
You can do this your first year. Get into cash flowing property that you can probably rent out per month.
Right.
And then set your life up where you're separating your money away so that you're getting ready for the next one.
Even more practical, if you're in college and you have parents that are supportive, use them as a cosigner if you don't have enough income.
Yep.
Like there are so many ways you can get creative to figure out how to get that first house.
Yep.
And I can tell you right now, if my daughter or son came to me and they were like, hey, I want to buy a house, and they're a freshman in college, you doggone better believe I'm co-signing for them if they're responsible.
Are we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Get a job, you freeloaders.
No, they will get a job, but I will help them if they're diligently working.
Wow, we
like,
need to
come
go to
on.
marriage counseling.
Good gravy.
I'm with Jay here. That's my dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Dad, I'm in college and I'm noticing my roommates and I are all paying.
$1,000 a month each.
What if I had the house and I got that money?
I'd be like, yes.
Be like, yeah, it's my entrepreneurial.
Yes. Like, I'm so proud
And
of
you'd
you.
sign for her?
In a second.
Well, so
I would, babe. I'm sorry.
I'm going to try to supply the cash more than co-signing. But if you needed to co-sign, like, yeah. But it's going to be a business agreement. I'm getting the cash flow.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, as a partner.
That's
That's a
really
good lesson, too.
I mean, I could have qualified for a house in college. I had 3 jobs.
Yep.
But not all of them were full-time.
I had enough income. I could have bought something, especially back then.
So one of the most important things in real estate is being able to draw on partnerships. Okay. And just because they're your children doesn't mean that you can't sign up with a partnership with them. We buy real estate together all the time.
I think that this is coming from a deeper place with me. I've seen so many parents
It depends on your child.
yeah.
Yep.
It really depends on your child.
Yep.
Like, because I can tell you the children that we have are not the same as the children that I know some of our friends at the same age.
And even some of your children are different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine are all the same.
There's one of them.
I have one kid.
All right, moving on. You're in debilitating debt. You have 2 kids. You got 2 car loans,
Yep.
and you live in a 2-story in a subdivision that's worth what, $400 to $800K.
And you're like, here, okay.
But nobody knows it.
But you can
Dun, dun,
see,
dun.
you're like, God, if I could just have an extra $500 that I didn't have to work for per month, that would relieve so much pressure.
This is like 80% of the population.
This is most people that are going to fall into this bucket, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to get even leaner and sacrifice, and you need to get yourself from here to here.
Yeah.
I believe most of them should sell their homes.
Yes.
I do too.
Like I know
So
somebody.
this person already owns a house.
Yeah, I know, and they should sell it. I know someone who
Okay,
hit me
so-
up and they had like $200K in equity. They're drowning in credit card debt.
Yeah.
Their monthly expenses are debilitating. They could literally almost pay cash for something. It might not be so fancy, okay?
Yeah.
You might have to take a little hit to the pride. You might need to sell that 3,700 square foot 2-story and move to like a 2,700 square foot house with oak. But you could be almost all cash on your new house. You could have no credit card debt, and it would just be a launch pad. And it all just comes down to people's pride and ego.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because guess what? When you move into that smaller house, into that neighborhood, nobody knows you at all.
Anyways, I digress. What were you
So
going to say?
here's what this channel is for. So let's say that you go for it and say, I got this equity. I'm going to fix all my life problems. Okay. This channel, or at least my mission, is to fix the mental, I'm not a counselor, but like the roadblocks of financial illiteracy that would lead you into that, and that would lead you into that same mistake again if you don't change the future.
Yeah.
Right.
You can have all the money in the world to fix the stomp out the fires, but if you don't
gonna get
fix
back
your
there.
habits, you're going to go right back to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say that they've sold the house and they've wiped everything out now.
They're going to go right
Okay.
back to spending naturally if
Yep.
they haven't.
We've seen people do this,
course-corrected.
right?
Yep. Get okay with your car aging forever.
Yeah.
Like I keep coming back to the car, but you guys have no idea how much you sell hundreds of houses, and you hear about so many car payments
Oh, yeah.
that are, I'm telling you, it is rampant. There's a reason why there's trillions of dollars of car debt out there,
Yeah.
because it's a plague to everybody. Okay.
The only reason that car companies and manufacturers are able to keep increasing prices and loan terms is because people keep upgrading as they stretch those loan terms out.
Get
Yeah.
over your car payment. Like get past it. Drive a car. No one else cares. I sold my first 50 million in real estate with a rusty car.
Right.
It's the way it was. It had rust in the back. And
It's a luxury item.
that
that's
car, and I even kept that car. We finally had enough money to fix the rust, and my wife still drives it today.
Yeah. I mean, cars are a luxury item for people who have luxury in their budget.
Period. And
Like-
not on a monthly basis.
No, not on a monthly payment. Honestly, I believe cars should be paid for in cash.
100%.
So
I don't-
there is a point where there's a reason for somebody to take out.
We're not talking
a
about
debt.
that person yet. We're talking about the people who have
yeah.
financial literacy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about the people who have buried themselves with short-term thinking to turn into a have when you're a have-not.
Correct.
Okay? That's the only reason why you'd ever take out a car loan is to become a have when you're a have-not. And it's a cheap way to get there. That'll actually be another financial handcuffs that will keep you a have-not forever.
Mm-hmm.
So wipe out your stuff and start getting serious. And then go back to our first advice about that college kid.
Oh my gosh. And if you have an ice house or a camper or a trailer or a multitude of other items that are on debt, get rid of them.
Sell them.
Yep. Okay, so financial disaster, haven't been able to manage debt because the debt has managed you. Now you're bearing from it. If you have that got out of jail, do that. Otherwise, you need to get more work.
Yeah.
You need to get more jobs.
You
have
need
to
income problem.
Yep. You need more income, and you need to get serious about your credit cards. Rip them up because you can't handle it. Pay them off.
Yeah.
And get yourself to zero. And if you don't have that equity, I mean, you guys are looking at 5 to 10 years of like hard work to get out of that.
How much money do you think people could save by just cutting down their social media time every month? Don't you think so much
Basically unlimited.
desire comes from looking at what other people have?
Nobody has desire. Okay.
Right. It comes from comparison.
Boy, I think we all have that's a question that's probably off topic, but I think we all have a bone in us that gets bigger, that's asking for you to be complacent. It's asking for you to not move. It's asking for you to just be safe and to take care of yourself. And I think what social media and phones do is they scratch that itch and they soothe it and they give you an outlet for that.
I mean, I just think that people go on social media and they see what other people have and they're doing, and it promotes them to spend money. So it's not off topic.
That too.
That was my point. My point was like,
off.
if you're struggling to get your budget under control, stop looking around at other people's things.
Okay, well, the topic here is to how to start investing. The best thing is if you're in that problem, you either sell your house to get out of the crap, not financial advice, or start working and working more and tear up your credit cards, pay off your debt. I don't care how hard it is. Honestly, get connected with Dave Ramsey.
Yeah. Quit looking for items to fill you up.
Yep. Okay, let's talk about the other people who have, and this one's actually really, really common too that we run into, the people who have been financially savvy.
Yeah, they have just a lot of money in savings and they're just kind of sitting on it.
They got a good couple of jobs. They have their 401ks getting funded. They're paying their credit cards off as soon as they use them.
Yep.
Okay. Not at the statements or whatever like that. You buy something, you pay it off, and they're sitting here and they're kind of like, I'm starting to get a
retire and die?
I'm starting to get a buildup of income.
Yeah.
It's great, but like, what do I do with this?
Yeah. And that's an ideal candidate, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's where you try to get those first two people too, right? Because the college student you talked about, he just got out of college. He has his debt making $5,000-6,000 a month.
Yeah.
Okay, let's put that to work. The other person who is in debilitating debt, like, okay, let's get you back down.
Yeah, so I just to provide clarity, the second bucket person is very common, and I think that they need to move into being this new person, and then the next step is to invest. But investing is never a tool to get you out of debilitating debt.
No,
correct.
You have to get rid of the debt.
Like there's like people are like, oh, you should invest and it will cover your payments. Like no, it won't, because like we bought our 5-plex and we immediately 90 days in a row, 3 months in a row, had to buy a new AC unit. Boom, boom, boom. $7,000, $7,000.
Yep.
No problem.
Yep.
But if you're in debilitating debt,
that does not work.
Huge problem. Then you're a slumlords are made by that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how slumlords. It's not that people turn into slumlords because they can't and they're getting reasonable requests from their tenants.
Yep.
And they're like, I don't have it, but I need to act like I do.
So just, you shouldn't be investing if you have a lot of debt and you're tight. You need to get out of that first, and you can.
Yep. So the first two, the second one was getting you to that. The first one, we assumed that you were at the ground level, haven't made those mistakes yet.
Yep.
Okay. Now the third one is that you've got a creative bone in you and you've done all the things that you thought would give you all the fulfillment in the world, but now all of a sudden your cash is kind of sitting. It's a little bit, it's a little bit boring.
It's driving you nuts. You want to do something with it.
Yep.
Right. So I guess my advice for that person is you have to determine your aptitude for risk first. Like how much risk are you willing to take with the money that you have saved?
I don't think there's any risk in real estate.
What I mean by that is, are you somebody who is fine buying a single family house where an AC goes out, a window needs to be replaced, furnace suddenly, and you're fine spending additional cash? Or are you somebody, or you need a new roof suddenly, like larger line items that you may or may not feel comfortable spending your money on? That's what I mean by that, right?
I'll make it more simple. Okay. Find the money that you're going to use. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you just going to use your checking account? Do you have retirement that you can pull from that you can apply to real estate, which is actually more common than you think? Or do you have a pile of equity in your primary residence that you could do a HELOC or second on?
Okay. So what I mean by that is the route I'm going to tell you to invest in is going to be determined on your aptitude. Like, are you going to go for townhouses, or are you going to go for single family homes, or are you going to go for multifamilies?
Right. But so
More
first
specifically.
we get the money you have.
Right.
You get your budget. So let's say you have $100,000.
Yeah.
You can grab that budget and you can see the type of asset classes that you can purchase. Then I think you're probably right about adding in your risk tolerance, right?
Yeah.
Do you a single family home is inherently more risky. It's going to be the more risky of those three asset classes, right? You have a townhome, single family, and a small multifamily, and then large multifamily. And there's of course commercial and stuff in there.
Commercial, if you want to go there too.
Right. But single family home is probably the most risky.
Yeah.
You probably have some really good upside though too in the short term.
Correct.
Lower cash flow, higher upside. So you decide what your risk tolerance is, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to get into something that may, need those types of things without the benefit of scale,
Right.
or association fees covering most of it?
Right.
And then from there, you can take the amount of cash that you have, and then you go and you make connections with loan officers. Period. You get your buying power, you get your loan terms, you get all those types of things, and you may need to spread that out between, 3 to 5 loan officers.
Yeah, because it's all a negotiation, right?
And you'll find that different banks have different tolerances for different types of purchases.
Right.
I've just learned that in the last year and a half is that like you can't jam your business into your loyalties when it comes to lending.
Correct.
You just can't. You'd love to use the guys that you use all the time. I'd love to give all of my business to Ken, but with a lot of my investing stuff, it doesn't work. It doesn't fit.
Right.
Cash out refinances right now, he doesn't even have them
Right.
on investments.
Right.
So you have to be more open to that. So
You
go
have to
on.
be fluid.
You need to be fluid in these things and the ebbs and flows. And I talk to all of them. So like when you have, 3 to 5, you call Ken, hey, what's this looking like today? He actually told me yesterday, he goes, call me about this every month. And I'm like, he goes, I'll look it up because I don't know. And I'm like, yeah, neither do I. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, that's why get ready for this. I'm going to call you all the time, but you're interacting with them and seeing what the loan products are like.
Right.
And then from there, once you have your financing, then you can just start looking at properties.
Right. Right. So
And that's when you connect with, you've already connected with me, I guess. Right.
oh yeah.
It's convoluted.
Wah, wah, bad advice. Here you go. Finally got to use it.
That is not good.
No. All right. Talk with me. I'll connect you with all those people, and then we'll run spreadsheets once you have all the money.
It's Mike's favorite thing
That's
to
it.
do.
He
is
loves
nerd out on
spreadsheets.
I will send him a property, and it's not even. He's like, he'll reply like, "I'll run a spreadsheet." I'm just like, hold on, I didn't need you to run a spreadsheet.
Yeah, you do.
And it's already in my inbox. No, it could be like a listing I have, and you're like, I'm running a spreadsheet. I'm like, no, like
We got to make sure it works.
for what?
You never get enough rent for this thing.
No.
Like,
No.
well, hold, Mike, I didn't want to rent it. I wanted to sell it.
Anyways, we'll have a lot of fun because you just give me an address. I run the numbers because for whatever reason, I fucking love it. And then we'll decide whether you want to buy it or not based
There you
on
go.
your potential returns.
It's like a red light, green light.
Yep. All right. I think those are the 3 main ways to get started
Yeah.
in investing. And you can talk about the benefit.
There are super wealthy people that want to just move their money too, which we've had the opportunity to work with quite a few of those.
When you talk about people using investments to pay monthly expenses on their personal assets, okay? Those folks, and this is the goal of any investing, is so use your active income to pay for investments, then those investments pay for your life, right? Okay. But you have baseline expenses within your life, okay? So first goal is to get your passive income to cover all of your day-to-day expenses, your food budget, your vacations. I shouldn't have said vacations, but that's true. Like we all have a vacation budget.
Yeah.
Your mortgages, everything. Okay. Now, once that's covered, then you need to earn on top of that. Okay. And now once you start seeing that divide between my passive income cash flow is covering my monthly expenses plus a chunk, then you can start looking to using that chunk and starting to take out weird debts if you'd like to. So go ahead and put that boat on a monthly payment because your passive cash flow is covering that.
Right.
Doesn't matter if you break your leg tomorrow because that cash flow is coming.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
So when people say use your investments to pay for your toys. It's at that level, and that level is quite a ways off for most people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Most people aren't there.
No, and also I guess like I think it's unless you have to plan for your home to be a rental when you buy it for that to make sense. There's a lot of sellers who just are like, oh, I'm going to rent my place instead. And that generally is not a good idea.
I run the numbers for them all the time. And I'll show them.
They'll be
my
like, oh,
breaks.
it's positive $100 or I'm going to make $200 a month, but they haven't factored in any of the real expenses associated with renting their property.
Right.
So when you buy your home, if you want to keep it a rental after you're done with it, that's something you need to plan for. That's not like we're just going to rent it. Usually the numbers don't work.
What people do, and I know that you've done this, if you've not actually run out a spreadsheet, is what they go, my mortgage is this, my insurance is this, my taxes are this. They don't even think about utilities, by the way. And they go, and I can rent it for this. And they say, so I get this.
Yeah.
Okay. What about maintenance?
Snow removal.
What
Oh
about
my gosh.
vacants? Snow removal is killing us this year.
Like so much salt.
So much.
I am literally losing hundreds of dollars a month in salt.
So is what
because
you
of all
end
the
up.
ice.
So the gap between that. Okay, so let's say that your mortgage, insurance, taxes, and then your rent, and you say, let's say that there's 500 in between those two.
Sure.
Okay, what you've created is what we call ghost cash flow.
Yeah, you'll never
So it's
see it.
cash flow that you think is coming that never shows up.
Right.
And so that's why the spreadsheets are so important, because they account for all of those expenses, those maintenance expenses, those vacancy expenses, your utilities, all those types of expenses.
Yeah.
I feel like what that people have then signed up for is it's an unpaid internship.
That's correct.
School of Hard Knocks.
That's exactly what it is.
It is.
Well, this is how come my account keeps just going down even though I'm making $500 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really tempting. Let's just hold on to this.
The funny part about that is they're spending that money like they have the $500 a month, and then they're like, "Oh no!"
And then they call us, and the house is trash. This
Yeah.
happened to you in Shakopee.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, it's a bad idea to rent
I
this
was
place.
like, "Don't rent this house out."
A year later, they're like, this isn't working.
Not even
out.
6
Oh.
months, and their tenant hadn't made their payments, and
then
now they
the
have
whole
to.
place needed carpet and paint. It was disgusting.
And they had left the country. My people were moving out of the country, and I'm like, when I met with you the first time, I was very clear this is a bad idea. This is the nightmare scenario I was afraid of when I said that to you.
Picking a tenant is a whole nother
Yeah.
that we should
Podcast.
talk about,
Yeah.
because picking good tenants is so stinking cool.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten burned yet.
Me either.
I have not gotten burned.
Well, I mean, just Samantha,
I did
you have to
show one of
define-
our apartments to somebody yesterday who didn't have a social security number. So needless to say, they're not applying.
I've listened to a lot of podcasts about this, and you see tenants that come through that strike all of the indicators in the back of your brain. And if you're not listening to people who have fallen for that, you may go hook, line, and sinker. So it's basically trusting your instincts most of the time and not being desperate.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when we leased our last unit in that building, there was a couple red flags in that guy's history that were not recent,
Right.
but were there.
Yeah. On the
And
misdemeanors or something.
based on the criteria that we typically would run off of, I probably wouldn't have rented to that person. However, there is such a thing as history. I've learned it employing people too. If you see people jump around from place to place frequently, there's usually a story there.
Yep.
Usually it's a lack of accountability. When you see people's financial histories, there's usually a story there. People who have
Turn it around.
high car payments, that have had 30-day late payments or whatever the case may be. There's a history to that behavior. And if you see it once, you'll see it over and over and over again until they decide to change that behavior. So for this particular situation, there was like a 6 or 7 year gap where nothing bad happened.
Yeah.
But he was trying to get moved beyond that. There was a period he went through, right? So it's like you have to be able to read the scenario too and not just have like a checklist that you follow. And he's our best tenant, candidly.
One of my, I think 7 or 8 tenants fits my criteria.
Yeah.
The rest of them have those histories. And the question is, this happened. How did it happen? What are you doing? What have you been doing about it
Right.
to correct it? And most people will play a victim card, and they'll tell you why this happened to them and this happened to them. And you'd be surprised at this terrible landlord. It's like, okay, bye. But all the folks they had immediate answers. This is what happened. This is the mistakes I made. This is what I'm working towards.
that's a different thing.
That's
and it's
very different.
completely different. And they've all blessed my properties like
Yeah.
in a way that's been incredible.
The first step is accountability. I think
Yep.
once you have somebody in front of you that's willing to account for where they fell short, you can move from that.
Yeah, but I've had people like, hey, this is not matching. This is not good. I need extra security deposit to layer my risk.
Yep.
And you may need a cosigner. And the ones who aren't good risks will absolutely not do that. And the ones who are like, okay, you got it for sure, because they've accounted for, they understand their own risk.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, if you don't understand your own risk, you're just living in victim mentality.
Right. But that falls into that same accountability basket. It's the same
Exactly.
thing. Yep.
Okay, we got a little bit off topic, but I hope this helps you guys basically clean up your finances, start with a good clean slate, and then just start being proactive
Yeah.
and putting yourself in a position where it only makes sense to push forward.
Yeah. And if you have more questions,
Now that sounds like a deal.
and if you have more questions on that, send them to Mike and we can talk about it
Yep. See you guys.
later.